Hey everyone. So a while back, someone had commented on my Saturn and Pisces video, and it brought me back to that video, and I ended up rewatching it. And ever since then, I feel like I've been thinking about this placement a lot more, and I feel like I'm always learning more about astrology. So looking back on, old videos that I've made, I always feel like I can add more, and that's kind of what this video is going to be. Just some random additional thoughts and even some clarifications on some things that I mentioned about Saturn and Pisces in that video. I feel like it's taken me a really long time to understand this placement because it is kind of a more mysterious placement. Just like all the water Saturn placements, Cancer and Scorpio, it has a similar mysterious energy to it, but Saturn and Pisces is more leaning into what is unknown, and that's why it's harder to define the energy of this placement. It's interesting because Saturn in Pisces does represent the accumulation of all the Saturn placements. Because I've started researching into history more and looking back at history, I've noticed that Saturn transits from Capricorn to Pisces. So Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, they tend to occur for us in life when major endings are also occurring in the world. So, like for instance, in the 60s, the biggest things that happened in the 60s was the Vietnam War and, the rise of civil rights movements. And everybody kind of remembers that decade as a decade of hope and peace and love because, that's kind of what got people through those terrible things that were happening. And then when Saturn in Capricorn to Pisces occurred again, it was in the late 80s, early mid 90s, and this was, when the Cold War ended. So it was kind of the aftermath of that. It was the ending of the Cold War and kind of beginning a new worldwide chapter, I guess. These last Saturn transits from Capricorn to Pisces, again, they're symbolizing the endings of systems in place. Those changes are leading to the new beginnings that we're going to have at the next Saturn cycle. So Saturn in Pisces comes after those broader systems in place have been restructured in Saturn in Capricorn and Saturn in Aquarius. When this occurs, there always seems to be like a global or at least a national upheaval or crisis. Even with the last Saturn in Capricorn transit that began in 2017, this was happening in America too. I don't know how it would be for other countries. You can share if you want to how maybe these Saturn transits affected your culture, your country, where you're from. But in America, everything that Trump did with like foreign policies, and then with the pandemic, and now there seems to be a new rise of civil rights movements, and it's bringing about other major endings to bring forth those new beginnings again. So that's kind of what's happening now. And Saturn and Pisces video, I said that they tend to take on everyone's baggage. And I want to clarify what I meant by that because I don't want to paint Saturn and Pisces as like some empaths or something. It's more that I've noticed that Saturn and Pisces can live with this chronic fear and uncertainty. Of course, everyone does to some degree, but I think Saturn and Pisces is almost like hyper aware of it. It's like they always have to live with this existential crisis. The way that I understand Saturn is like the boat that floats on top of waters, right? Because Cancer, you could say Cancer's the water, or just, the water signs in general. Saturn floats above that. It doesn't sink, obviously, but when Saturn in Pisces comes in, it's like that boat collapses and it sinks. And the people on board may not sink with it necessarily, but then they're left kind of just floating alone in the water with nothing to grab onto, no sense of structure. They're just in the midst of unclear waters because Saturn is that structure. Saturn is order. And Pisces dissolves that structure. So that's what it feels like to have this Saturn and Pisces placement. And I also think it's important to talk about this now because, the changes that we're going to see with Saturn and Aquarius are going to lead to what's going to happen in Saturn and Pisces. And I think that if things seem like they're not going right when Saturn's in Aquarius, that can lead to feeling like there's even more chaos when Saturn and Pisces hits. Your life source that you're trying to find when you're floating in the water all alone, it's not going to come and save you in a physical way. Instead, Saturn and Pisces has to learn how to find structure within the chaos of the waters. Saturn and Pisces finds that through contemplating existence and life itself on a deeply emotional level. That's also what I meant by saying that Saturn and Pisces can kind of feel what everything is feeling. It's not that there's some kind of like sponges. I mean, maybe they are, because Saturn and Pisces is a pretty sensitive placement. It's more that they were born during a time period when this was the state of the world, right? That's what our charts are. We carry on the energy of the time that we're born in. When Saturn transits in Pisces on a much broader scale, that's what it actually feels like. It feels like chaos replaces order, and people tend to be swept up by fear and then maybe even mistrust authority figures and leaders in society. Or it could be that we're swept up in some kind of Neptunian delusion that seems like it saves us, but really it's just kind of bypassing the confrontation of what is actually occurring. There's a disillusionment that can occur when it comes to solidifying oneself in the world when you have this placement, or even when this occurs as a transit. Because it's kind of like, how can you leave your mark on the world when it doesn't even feel like there's anything solid to grasp onto? So yes, Saturn and Pisces can help themselves if they find ways to structure themselves in the physical world, kind of adopting a more Virgo approach. But I've personally found that, and this is what I would say to people who have this placement, delving into that pain that can be felt by humanity, and even understanding the inevitable burdens that humans face, those that just come with existence, confronting those things, those scary human conditions that seem to dissolve all structure, those elements of life that Saturn and Pisces can feel afraid of. Confronting that directly and actually feeling it is where Saturn and Pisces can find some kind of success for themselves, or some kind of deeper meaning. Because Saturn is your own cross to bear. Everybody has a Saturn placement, so everybody has like a burden that they have to contend with. And with Saturn and Pisces, it's more of an existential burden. And you can understand with this placement how everyone feels it too. And this is how Saturn and Pisces really extends that universal compassion to everyone. Saturn and Pisces wants to know what is unknown. They want to face the unknown and find structure there. And they can understand how this unknown and this fear surrounding what's unknown is actually a universal theme in life. And so Saturn and Pisces can really delve in there to understand this intrinsic lesson. This isn't like Saturn and Earth signs where it's something tangible. And that's why I think Saturn and Pisces can struggle so much to find, a stable ground, because it feels like in this day and age, at least, like you have to have something physical or material to symbolize, your success or something. Saturn and Pisces has to find it in a different way, because believe it or not, even if you do find it in that material sense, you're still going to have to find something deeper, something more meaningful, something that feels like you're actually contributing something to humanity. Understanding this existential lesson is how you can feel more masterful. That's when you can begin to understand the water, and instead of just drowning in it or sinking, you're actually floating in it. When you do this, that's when Saturn and Pisces can bring forth that healing that they're kind of known for. The decades when this transit was occurring, or the generations that have this transit, that's what they end up being known for, is for bringing that healing, bringing some kind of hope or some kind of light in the darkness. That healing is extended towards helping people carry this existential burden as well. So that's why Saturn in Pisces can leave us with a sense of hope, because it knows that there's meaning in being able to face the fear of the unknown. So I just wanted to share those thoughts on Saturn and Pisces. If you have this placement, maybe this can help you understand it a little bit more, and to just kind of clarify things that I meant. So this transit is going to occur in 2023, and that's why I think this is also relevant, just to understand this placement, because even if you don't have it personally, this is going to be a theme for everyone going into 2023 and, those 2 years afterwards. So yeah, I hope that you found this video interesting, and let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.